Representative Walker, you have the floor, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the bill before us is something that is very important to all the communities of the state of Connecticut. There are several things in this bill that I think we need to have some clarification on. And with that, sir, I would like to present a few questions to the proponent of the amendment.
Representative Porter, please prepare yourself. Representative Walker, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the great gentle lady from New Haven, Hamden, I would like to ask, why are we prohibiting police from shooting cars?
Representative Porter.
Well, there have been a number of several high-profile cases in the state of Connecticut where police officers have fired at vehicles, and part of this bill is a new section, Section 2, which deals with no shooting at motor vehicles. I would like to also say that this section was actually modeled after the Connecticut State Police Policy, and what this would do is actually codify it. But it is not an absolute prohibition against police officers shooting at cars. They may shoot at the driver, and I want to distinguish the difference. Officers are trained not to shoot at the vehicle that's being used as a weapon, but they are trained to shoot at the driver to disable the vehicle. So if the person driving the vehicle poses an imminent threat or serious injury or death directed at the police officer or another person, in that instance, they would be allowed to shoot at the driver to disable the vehicle. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentlelady for that answer. So I just want to make sure I understand this. So they are not absolutely prohibited, but they are recommended to study the situation before they engage in any type of aggressive actions with an ongoing car, correct? Through you, Mr. Speaker?
Representative Porter.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, that is correct. If they are able to make a reasonable decision that they can safely get themselves or another person out of harm's way, that is the first choice that they should make. But if that is not the case, and there is imminent danger to either the officer or another person, that they would be allowed to discharge their firearm to disable the driver. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And also, I believe there's new language in this amendment that talks about an oversight group. So through you, Mr. Speaker, could the gentlelady explain to me about the oversight group that is in this bill?
Representative Porter.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Speaker, yes, I can. It is actually in Section 9 of the bill, and it deals with the Commission on Equity and Opportunity, and it's going to be established that they have a working group, and the working group shall consist of the chief of a city with a population exceeding 100,000 people, appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. One who shall be a police chief of a city with a population exceeding 100,000, appointed by the President Pro Tem of the Senate. One who shall be a police chief of a city with a population of less than 75,000, appointed by the Senate Republican President Pro Tem. One who shall be a police chief of a city, population less than 75,000, appointed by the Minority Leader of the House of Representatives. And then there's the Chief Public Defender with his or her designee, the Chief State's Attorney's Office with his or her designee, the Executive Director of CEO, Commission on Equity and Opportunity, or his or her appointee, the Executive Director of the American Civil Liberties Union of Connecticut, or his or her designee, a representative of the Criminal Defense Bar appointed by the President of the Connecticut Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, and all appointments to the working group shall be made not later than 30 days after the effective date of this bill. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentlelady for those answers. I'm really glad to hear about the working group that is being established. I know many of us have all been familiar with Raise the Age that we started back in 2008. And one of the things that we realized was that we needed to have a working group to reflect many of the people that are going to be affected by the change in the age of adult jurisdiction. In this bill, it is doing the same thing. And as we know, there are many people that criticized when we first started Raise the Age and said that it was going to cause major problems, it was going to cost the state more money, and it was going to stop everybody, the police, the prosecutors, the public defenders, the judges, from doing their job. What it did do was it brought everybody together. It gave everybody an opportunity to talk. It made it very transparent, and it gave an opportunity for us to move forward in trying to oversee how we work with juveniles. I think it's important for all people in the state of Connecticut to have a security of transparency and observation of what's going on with them so that we give them that much more security about public safety. Nobody understands how important that is, especially in communities like mine, where we all have a fear many times about who is coming to our door and what is going to happen with us. I have several grandsons who I am worried for, and I have a granddaughter that I'm worried for, because the important thing I want them to understand is that we all work together for the security of this state, and it's extremely important. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentlelady for her answers to my questions.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Will you remark further on the amendment before us?